Plant this and your bees will love you. Look at all the bees. These are New England asters. A welcome buffet for the bees this time of year. Not just honeybees, but bumblebees, all sorts of bees, and other pollinators too. These aren't all the asters I have in my yard. I have other asters that are smaller, white colored, that I didn't plant. They just came up naturally. But the bees are really going at it this morning. Hopefully you can see all the bees. Started out with just one or two plants, and over the last few years they just keep reseeding themselves and spreading. These are tall. You can keep them shorter. The deer eat off these plants here. They're a little later blooming, but they're starting to bloom. There's another one over here. It's got a lot of bees on it. And there's another one up there. They were spread by seed, birds, whatever. Well, this is another aster I have in my yard. It's called the calico aster. I also, in the past, have had what's called the hairy aster. But as you can see, the bees are on this. All types of bees, pollinating insects. There's a little bitty one. There are honeybees, not as many as on the European asters, but they're still drawing bees, so they're producing pollen and nectar. Another plant native to Missouri is snake root. Right now these are in the shade. They're on the north side of the house. When the sun moves around here, there's a few bees back there on that one there. Or if these get into the sun, the bees will work them also. There's another one. They grow well in the shade. This is the north side of my house. Here's some more asters that haven't bloomed yet because they're in the shade. There's some of that snake root and bumblebees on it. Here's more aster. It's in the north side of the house. The sun does get around here in the afternoon. The bees are starting to work this a little bit, gathering pollen and nectar. Well, now we're in my backyard, which is mostly shaded most of the day. And as you can see, there's white flowers down there. That's the white snake root that I was referring to earlier. I have some mint that I threw some seed down there. Right now it's done blooming, but there is mint down there that flowers that the bees like. But as you see, there's a lot of that snake root, and the bees will work it later on in the day when the nectar's flowing in it and the asters are not quite as enticing. Snake root starts blooming before the asters, so they're worked more heavily during that time, there's more of that white snake root. My wife calls it weeds. Well, yeah, it's considered weeds, but I consider it forage for my bees. And they're bringing in pollen and evidently nectar too. They're busy this morning. Hope you can hear that. That's the bees working the flowers. This time of year, we have asters, goldenrod, the snake root, and I have some zinnias that are blooming, and the bees are working all of that. So it's important to have flowers, forage for the bees year-round, or at least the summer months whenever there's flowers growing, so they can prepare themselves for winter. As you can see, some of these bees have pollen on their pollen sacs. They're getting pollen, they're getting nectar. I've watched them with their proboscis getting nectar from the flowers there. So the more plants you can have in your environment near your hives, the better it'll be. I currently don't have any goldenrod. I hope to have some in the next year or so. I just haven't planted any. I had some come up voluntary, and it didn't last very long. But most of these flowers are perennials. They come back year after year. Also in this bed there are purple cone flowers, what's called a false sunflower. They're done flowering for the year, but the seed pods provide seeds for the birds, so I left them on there. As you can see, there's quite a bit of dead debris in there. Another thing you'll notice, there's not any weeds growing up in this bed. The asters, the sunflowers, and echinacea or cone flowers drown out the weeds. So where it's thinner here, where the sun can get in there, there are weeds, which I haven't gotten cleared back, but we're in the center here, there's no weeds. These flowers don't take a lot of water. I didn't water them all summer long. We've had a pretty dry summer. We're in a drought situation. I did water them a few times in the last few weeks before we start getting a little bit of rain here, just to force them to bloom a little earlier. So they're drought resistant. Butterflies like them. My big thing is my honeybees. They're able to forage on their own. I don't have to feed them. Thanks for watching.